The evening air was thick with the familiar hum of the city, streetlights flickering against the damp pavement outside my apartment window. I sat cross-legged on the couch, nervously twisting a strand of my hair around my finger, my reflection in the darkened glass catching my eye. That reflection had been my secret companion for months now, a version of me that few people had ever seen. To the outside world, I was Jake, a 24-year-old office worker who spent his days buried in spreadsheets and endless emails, living a life of quiet predictability. But behind closed doors, I was someone else entirely. Someone bold, radiant, and daring. My passion, or perhaps obsession, was crossdressing. Not because I had to, and not because I was coerced. It was because in those moments, I felt alive in a way that the mundane routines of my life never allowed. The silky fabrics against my skin, the subtle scent of perfume, the click of high heels echoing against hardwood floors, it was all intoxicating. And yet, every thrill carried a whisper of danger. Being discovered by the wrong person could ruin everything, especially my relationship with AVA.
Ava.
Her name alone made my heart both swell and shiver. She wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my best friend, my anchor, my confidant. Outwardly, she had no idea about the late-night transformations, the carefully curated wardrobes hidden under my bed, or the hours I spent perfecting my looks in the mirror. But sometimes I wondered if she sensed it. If she did, would she understand? Or would the very foundation of our relationship crumble? It had started innocently enough. AVA and I had been dating for nearly a year, and her sense of mischief often rubbed off on me. She loved dares, pranks, and playful challenges, and I had learned early on that when she suggested something, the best course of action was to play along. That day, though, she had gone too far, or maybe just far enough. "Jake," she said, flashing that mischievous grin that always made my pulse skip. "I dare you to go to tonight's party as someone completely new. Someone fun. Someone bold. Someone fabulous." Her words had sent a shiver down my spine. My mind raced with images of glittering dresses, sky-high heels, and makeup palettes I had only dared to admire from afar. The thought of stepping into a crowd while fully embracing this other persona both thrilled and terrified me. Yet, beneath the fear, there was that familiar spark, the irresistible pull of transformation. As I sat on the couch, my eyes roamed over the living room, taking in the small, cozy details, the half-empty mug of tea on the coffee table, the soft glow of the lamp casting shadows over the plush rug, the carefully hidden box of dresses and wigs tucked neatly in the corner. This apartment had become a stage, and tonight, I was about to perform. I glanced down at the clock. AVA wouldn't be home for another hour, but that was enough time to make a change, enough time to become someone else entirely. My heart pounded as I imagined the thrill of stepping into the party, all eyes on me, and yet no one having the faintest idea who I truly was beneath the makeup and the outfit. The thought alone made my stomach flutter. Choosing the right outfit was its own challenge. I sifted through the collection I had built meticulously over the months, bold colors, delicate lace, and fabrics that felt like liquid silk in my hands. Each piece told a story, each accessory whispered possibilities. Finally, my fingers rested on a deep burgundy dress that clung just enough to hint at curves without revealing too much. The decision was both exhilarating and terrifying. Then came the makeup. I had practiced this routine countless times, but tonight it felt different. Every brushstroke seemed to hold more weight, every contour and highlight shaping not just my face, but my entire persona. As I worked, I felt the familiar rush, the combination of fear, excitement, and a profound sense of self that came only when I truly allowed myself to transform. By the time I stepped back to look in the mirror, the person staring back at me was unrecognizable, at least to the world. She had sparkling eyes that glimmered with confidence, lips painted a perfect shade of crimson, and a presence that seemed to radiate from her very core. And yet, beneath the glamour, there was still a thread of vulnerability, the fear of being caught, the anxiety of stepping into a reality where one misstep could shatter everything. AVA's dare had been simple: playful even. But as I glanced at the clock, realizing that the party was only minutes away, I understood that this night could change everything. Not just in how others saw me, but in how I saw myself. Could I really be the queen of the party? Could I truly embrace this daring, luminous version of myself without regret? With one final deep breath, I adjusted my wig, slid into the heels, and took a tentative step toward the door. The city outside beckoned, alive with possibilities, and I knew that once I crossed that threshold, there would be no turning back. Tonight, the game had begun, and I was ready to play, heart pounding, secrets tucked close, and every nerve alight with anticipation. The first step was always the hardest, acknowledging the thrill of the dare without letting fear freeze me in place. I paced the small living room, my heels clicking softly against the hardwood floor, the burgundy dress hugging my frame in ways I hadn't dared imagine before. Each step reminded me that tonight wasn't just a game. It was an exploration of a part of myself I had long kept hidden. I paused by the mirror, studying every detail. The wig framed my face perfectly, soft curls tumbling over my shoulders, catching the dim light in subtle highlights. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted the straps of the dress, feeling the silky fabric slide against my skin. Every movement brought a mixture of exhilaration and anxiety. Would anyone recognize me? Would someone laugh if they found out? And, most importantly, what if AVA returned home early? The apartment seemed to shrink around me, each shadow a potential threat. I could almost hear my heartbeat in the silence, quick and uneven. My reflection stared back with wide eyes, a mix of excitement and fear mirrored in those sparkling orbs. There was a vulnerability to being exposed, even in this controlled environment. Every transformation carried risk, but the allure of stepping fully into my cross-dressing persona was irresistible. I reminded myself of why I did this. Not just for AVA's dare, not just for the thrill of the party, but for me. Crossdressing had always been a form of liberation. The sensation of wearing something delicate, elegant, and beautiful made me feel more alive than any spreadsheet or office routine ever could. It was a secret rebellion against the mundanity of life, a bold assertion of a side of myself that the world rarely saw. Taking a deep breath, I moved to the makeup station I had meticulously organized. Brushes, palettes, and powders gleamed under the warm glow of the vanity light. Tonight, the goal was perfection, not just in appearance but in presence. I started with foundation, smoothing it over my skin in careful strokes, feeling the coolness against my cheeks. Contouring followed, shaping my face into a more delicate, feminine structure, each line accentuating the curves and angles that had always been hidden. I applied eyeshadow next, choosing a smoky palette that highlighted my eyes without being too bold. The blending required precision, every flick of the brush deliberate. Mascara added the finishing touch to the lashes, making them appear longer, fuller, more alive. With each layer, I felt the transformation intensify. The mirror reflected someone who wasn't just playing a role, someone who could command attention, radiate confidence, and embody the dare itself. Lipstick was last. I chose a deep crimson, the color of daring, of audacity, of someone unafraid to stand out. The moment the brush met my lips, I felt a surge of exhilaration. The transformation was complete, or so I thought. But transformation wasn't just about clothes or makeup. It was about mindset. I had to move differently, carry myself differently, exude the confidence that the outfit demanded. I practiced walking in heels, careful of every step, aware of the subtle sway of my hips, the posture that made the dress cling in all the right places. I rehearsed smiles, tilts of the head, the casual toss of hair that made someone seem effortlessly radiant. And yet, beneath it all, fear simmered. What if someone from work saw me? What if AVA's friends were at the party and recognized me instantly? The anxiety was a sharp contrast to the thrill, a constant reminder that this game was high stakes. My pulse quickened with every imagined scenario. Then came the moment of decision. Stepping out the door. I paused, hand on the doorknob, listening for any sounds from the hallway. The city outside beckoned, alive with possibilities, but also with scrutiny. I had prepared for this, rehearsed for this, but the real test was about to begin. As I walked to the party, the streets felt different under my heels. Every passerby seemed amplified in my perception, eyes scanning, evaluating, wondering if they could see through the carefully crafted facade. The thrill was intoxicating, but so was the vulnerability. For the first time, I realized that being the queen of the party wasn't just about looking perfect. It was about embracing fear, uncertainty, and the unknown. Arriving at the venue, the music pulsed through my chest, the lights flickered over glittering decorations, and the hum of conversation filled the air. People laughed, drank, danced, everyone immersed in their own worlds. I took a deep breath and stepped inside, my posture straight, my smile poised. The transformation was complete, not just in appearance, but in essence. And then, the real suspense began. Every glance, every whisper, every casual observation from the crowd was a potential threat. Would someone recognize me? Would someone figure out my secret? The tension was exhilarating, a delicious mix of danger and thrill. I felt every eye on me, yet none seeing the truth beneath the glamour. Somewhere in the crowd, I spotted AVA. My heart skipped. She looked radiant, playful, and entirely unaware of the inner storm I was navigating. Our eyes met for a moment, and I forced a casual smile, hiding the adrenaline that coursed through my veins. Tonight wasn't just a party. It was a stage, a test, and a transformation that would challenge every boundary I had ever known. The music shifted, people moved closer, and the night stretched before me with endless possibilities. The thrill of the dare pulsed through every nerve, mingling with fear and excitement in equal measure. For the first time, I truly understood the power of this transformation, not just as an act of crossdressing, but as a declaration of who I could be when boundaries were pushed, when fears were faced, and when the world became a canvas for daring self-expression. And as the night unfolded, I knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever feel the same again. The party wasn't just a social event. It was the crucible in which I would either rise as the queen, dazzling and untouchable, or falter, exposed and vulnerable. Every step, every glance, every whispered comment carried weight. I felt the thrill in my chest, a fire that refused to be dimmed. This was more than a dare. It was a declaration. And as I prepared to face the first curious gaze, the first hesitant compliment, the first challenge to my secret, I knew that the night was just beginning, and the real transformation, both thrilling and terrifying, had only just begun. The party was a glittering spectacle, a whirl of color, music, and movement that seemed to pulse in time with my own racing heartbeat. I floated through the crowd, heels clicking decisively, dress swaying just enough to draw attention without overstepping. The transformation was no longer just physical, it was psychological. Every laugh I shared, every smile I offered, was part of the performance, a delicate dance balancing confidence and concealment. I felt the thrill immediately. Compliments came my way, some subtle, some bold, but each sent a shiver down my spine. "You look amazing tonight," a stranger murmured as he passed, eyes flicking with curiosity and admiration. My pulse surged, a mix of pleasure and fear, because beneath the surface, they didn't know who I really was. And if even one person suspected, everything could unravel. Then, almost too quickly, I spotted AVA across the room. Her gaze swept over the crowd, and when it landed on me, a mischievous smile curved her lips. My chest tightened. How much did she see? Could she tell it was me beneath the dress, the wig, the makeup? I forced a casual laugh, letting the persona I had cultivated dominate my nervousness. The real test began when a group of AVA's friends approached. They didn't know me in this guise, and their curiosity was palpable. One of them, a tall guy with a sharp jawline and a knowing grin, leaned closer. "Hey, you're new, right? I don't think I've seen you before." My throat went dry. The wrong word, the wrong move, and the illusion could shatter. I smiled, tilting my head, letting confidence mask my panic. "Yeah, just moved into town. Thought I'd check out the party," I said, voice steady though my stomach nodded. The group nodded, chatting amicably, seemingly satisfied. My relief was brief. A whisper of anxiety remained, reminding me that this tightrope could break at any second. Then came the unexpected twist. The party's host, someone I didn't know very well but who had a knack for theatrics, decided to initiate a costume contest on the spot. A wave of panic surged through me. This was supposed to be a subtle dare, a personal challenge, not a full-on spectacle. The spotlight would land on me, exposing every detail of my transformation. Every secret I had tried to keep safe now threatened to spill under scrutiny. I froze for a fraction of a second, then remembered AVA's dare. This was the ultimate test, the moment to prove, even to myself, that I could own this identity. Heart hammering, I stepped forward, adjusting the dress, smoothing the wig, and embracing the persona I had created. The music swelled, lights flashed, and the crowd's eyes turned toward me. It was intoxicating. Every step on the makeshift stage amplified my confidence. I felt alive in a way that the ordinary world had never allowed. Laughter, applause, and whispers surrounded me, but I moved through them like water, flowing with the persona rather than fighting it. For a moment, I was untouchable, the queen of the party, exactly as the dare had promised. And then came the crisis. A friend from work, someone who knew me as Jake, appeared at the edge of the crowd. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second, and my stomach dropped. Recognition flickered in his gaze, hesitation in his expression. I forced a radiant smile, feigning casual confidence, hoping he would dismiss it as someone unfamiliar. But he didn't. Slowly, deliberately, he started moving closer. Panic surged in waves, my heart pounding against my ribs. My secret, meticulously guarded for months, was teetering on the edge of exposure. I had to act fast. I ducked into a quieter corner, weaving between guests, trying to stay invisible while maintaining my persona. The dress swished around my legs, the heels making soft clicking sounds that felt deafening in my ears. Every glance behind me was a potential disaster. I felt trapped, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. In the corner, I stumbled upon a prop, a decorative feather fan from the party's photo booth. Inspiration struck. I picked it up, twirling it with casual grace, redirecting attention from my panic. It worked. Guests giggled, admired the playful addition to my outfit, and the person from work seemed momentarily distracted. Relief washed over me, but it was fleeting. The night was far from over. AVA found me shortly after, slipping her hand into mine with a playful squeeze. "You're amazing," she whispered, eyes sparkling with excitement. Her approval was intoxicating, but it also reminded me of the stakes. She still didn't know, and the risk of discovery lingered like a shadow over the glamour of the moment. Then, the symbolic moment hit, the mirror at the photo booth. I caught my reflection, the real me staring back beneath the makeup, the wig, the persona. For an instant, the glamour felt like a mask, and I was both exposed and empowered. The duality was intoxicating, the thrill of being someone else, and the vulnerability of showing that hidden self to the world, even if only briefly. The climax intensified when the costume contest winners were announced. I heard my name, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Panic and excitement collided. Should I accept the title? Claim the spotlight fully? Or step back, hide, protect the secret that could ruin everything? My heartbeat thundered in my ears as I made the decision. I stepped forward, lifting my chin, embracing the cheers and applause. The adrenaline surged through me, every eye on me, every smile reinforcing the daring choice I had made. I had become the queen of the party, not just in appearance, but in courage. Every risk, every fear, every trembling step had led to this moment of triumph. But the suspense was far from over. In the crowd, subtle signs of recognition persisted. AVA's friends whispered, glances flicked toward me, and I knew that the night's tension wasn't finished. I had conquered the dare, but I had not yet escaped the consequences of exposure. Every laugh, every compliment, every cheer was a reminder that the fine line between triumph and disaster was razor-thin. And then, the final twist. The person from work approached again, this time with a playful smirk. "I've seen you somewhere, haven't I?" My chest tightened. The room seemed to shrink, the music muffled, and every heartbeat echoed like a drum. I had to act, to deflect, to maintain the persona I had so carefully built. With a witty remark and a practiced smile, I diverted the attention once more, the crowd laughing, none the wiser. The relief was immediate, but the tension lingered. I realized that this night wasn't just about winning a contest. It was about navigating the thrill of transformation while balancing fear, secrecy, and desire. As I moved through the party, accepting compliments, laughing with new acquaintances, and stealing the occasional glance at AVA, I felt a surge of empowerment. I had embraced the dare, transformed beyond expectation, and survived the night's suspenseful challenges. But even in the glow of victory, a lingering question remained. How long could this carefully maintained secret endure? The cheers still echoed in my ears as I left the stage, clutching the small trophy that marked me as the winner of the party's impromptu costume contest. I tried to steady my breathing, heels clicking sharply against the floor, but inside, a storm of adrenaline and anxiety raged. I had won. I had claimed the spotlight, and yet the tiniest crack in my confidence reminded me that my secret was still just that, a secret, fragile and easily shattered. AVA appeared beside me, her arms slipping into mine with a warmth that made my chest tighten. "You were incredible," she said, her eyes sparkling with admiration. "I didn't know you could pull off something like that." I smiled, letting the persona I had perfected carry me, hiding the turbulent mix of fear and exhilaration that throbbed beneath the surface. But then I caught a glimpse of him again, the co-worker, the one who had almost unraveled everything. His eyes lingered on me with a strange mixture of recognition and curiosity. A chill ran down my spine. How much had he realized? Could he see through the layers of makeup, the carefully chosen outfit, the confident smile I wore like armor? I laughed nervously, leaning closer to AVA, trying to anchor myself in her presence. "Just lucky," I said, letting the words hang lightly in the air. But even as I spoke, I knew luck had little to do with it. Survival tonight had been a careful act, balancing risk and daring, and one wrong glance could undo it all. The party surged around us, guests chatting, music pulsing, lights dancing across the room, but my focus had narrowed to a single point, the uncertain future of my secret. Every shadow, every passing smile, every casual remark could be a threat. I felt exposed, yet alive in a way that was both intoxicating and terrifying. I moved to the photo booth, letting the flashing lights and playful props give me a temporary reprieve. I posed for pictures with AVA, with new acquaintances, letting the laughter and applause mask the tension coiling inside me. But even in these moments of joy, a quiet panic simmered beneath the surface. Then, without warning, I felt a tug at my dress. My heart leapt. I spun, ready to defend myself, only to find a curious hand, AVA's, gently adjusting a strap that had slipped. Relief flooded me, mixed with a surge of vulnerability. She smiled at me, completely unaware of how close I had come to exposure, of how precarious every moment had been. And then I saw it, a shadow at the edge of the room, a figure who had been lingering in the background, watching. Recognition flickered in their eyes. Panic surged. My mind raced. Should I approach, deflect, or flee? Each option carried risk. Each second that passed made the danger more real. AVA leaned close, whispering, "You're amazing, but I think someone's looking for you." I froze, the weight of the warning settling over me like ice. I turned slightly, and my breath caught. The co-worker from earlier was approaching again, slower this time, deliberate, his gaze fixed on me with a scrutiny that made my stomach knot. I tried to smile, to maintain composure, but my fingers trembled against the edge of my dress. The heels that had once felt empowering now seemed like a trap, locking me into every movement. Every step was a countdown. Every heartbeat reminded me that exposure was imminent. AVA glanced at him, her brow furrowing slightly. "Do you know him?" she asked, curiosity laced with concern. My mind raced. I had no choice. I had to act, to deflect, to survive this moment without revealing my secret. Just someone from work, I said quickly, forcing a casual tone. Doesn't matter. But even as the words left my mouth, I realized that luck alone wouldn't carry me through the night. The secret I had nurtured, the persona I had crafted so carefully, was on the brink of being revealed. The coworker stepped closer, a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. I feel like I've seen you before, he said, voice low but deliberate, carrying enough weight to make the world tilt slightly off its axis. My heart hammered. Could he figure it out? Could one comment undo everything I had risked tonight? Avier's hand tightened around mine, grounding me, but it was a fragile lifeline. I felt the duality of myself pressing in from all sides, the bold, confident queen of the party, and the terrified Jake, whose secret existence balanced on a knife's edge. Every muscle in my body tensed, every nerve fired with anticipation and fear. And then, just as he opened his mouth to speak again, the lights flickered, plunging the room into semi-darkness. The music dipped and surged, adding a surreal, almost cinematic tension to the moment. For a heartbeat, the entire room held its breath, and I realized something chilling. The next few seconds would define everything. Would I be exposed? Would AVA discover the truth? Or would the night end with the secret intact, the thrill of transformation complete, but the danger only temporarily postponed? I swallowed hard, gripping AVA's hand tighter, and the screen fades to black in my mind's eye. The music swelled, the crowd's murmur lingered like a distant echo, and the weight of uncertainty pressed down on me. One thing was certain, tonight would be remembered forever, but the story was far from over.